Chapter 16. It has been ingrained deeply within the consciousness of mankind that they are the servants of their God of the moment. Over the long space of time since mankind has been elevated into self-awareness, those on this planet have been held in servitude and have been subject to the whims of the controllers' interactions between themselves. Further, as the manipulated progeny of these same beings, these attributes of contention and competition are a part of this heritage. In truth and reality, these deep-seated tendencies of competition and the use of violence to resolve the inevitable friction that results from this focus has served neither the controllers nor the enslaved. Both have remained over eons of sequential time stuck within the victim-abuser mode that has blocked both from evolving. Failing to live in harmony within the universal laws, which includes living in harmony with the natural environment of each home planet, leads to the waste of its resources and eventual exhaustion of the ability to maintain life on it. The natural conclusion of that focus of experience is to look outside for another source to plunder. Earth is the source for those who have set that parameter at the basis of their pattern of experience. It is natural then for this same parameter to be the attitude promoted on its perceived colony. As these messages continue to contribute to greater understanding of the foundation upon which mankind developed within a controlled and manipulated situation, it is hoped that those reading the information will come to understand their situation and their learned attitudes and understandings. In order to change deeply entrenched beliefs and experience, it is necessary to see a clear picture of the present situation. Only then can a true decision be made as to whether this is the path that is desired to be continued, or if it is time to stand forth within personal decision and change the course of human history by writing each one's own history, and so the history of humanity. For eons of time, each generation has accepted the parameters of experience that has been thrust upon them and waited to be led out of bondage. It has been said, when the people lead, the leaders will follow. This has not proved to be true, as each time it has been an isolated group that has attempted rebellion only to be devastated by weaponry that instilled even greater fear within them. This resulted because they attempted to stand forth using the same competitive, war techniques that had been taught them by example. Their purpose was to create an improved version of the life they were leading, with again another leader to guide them to a utopian societal experience. This in truth would have been simply a better version of the usual victim-abuser experience, temporarily. Even if a benevolent leader were chosen, the history of the influence of power in the following familial generations through the competition of the offspring has inevitably led to despotism. Thus there has been the hopeful expectation that better leadership would be provided by short-term election of leaders from among the people. In this way it was thought that the inheritance of power and the competition between heirs would be eliminated. It should be obvious that this method of choosing leaders has not provided a better solution. Always the people have abdicated their individual power through desiring leadership, government to act as their shepherd or parent. What was desired was a larger experience of the family. A benevolent superbeing, a benevolent leader, and a benevolent parent, with the power vested in the masculine gender. What has been lost is self-reliance within the balance of both masculine and feminine. Unique characteristics. Mankind has little if any faith in the unique distribution of characteristics and talents that, if allowed to exhibit individually, would bring forth a composite that would birth the desired utopian experience. At the basis of this experience would lie the spirit of cooperation. The question that arises immediately is how this could possibly even begin within the present situation of separation, hate, distrust, etc., etc. Herein lies the wisdom of the breakdown and chaos that is inevitable when circumstances reach a level at which the current situation can no longer maintain itself. An apple rotten at the core must disintegrate. Thus the comparison is obvious. In the midst of chaos, groups will come together in cooperation for the purpose of survival. If there are enlightened ones among these groups with understanding and foresight, these can begin a new experiment that suits the members and the group focus. They must not lead, but only advise and promote the new experiment. If there are enough of these groups all focused upon this new concept of human existence, all understanding the history and the need to leave the past in the past, there is hope for a new paradigm of experience for this planet. Difficult as it is to accept, not all of humanity will be able to participate in the bringing forth of this concept. All that incarnate on this planet understand this before doing so. To all, the opportunity to experience manifested reality is worth the experience of it. Much wisdom is gained, and despite the limited understanding now held by the mass consciousness, is worth the experience. Though humanity dreams of attaining immortality within the body, that too carries with it responsibilities that counterbalance perceived advantages. That known as self-awareness is immortal. To add to it a body that is immortal includes dimensions beyond the ability to understand by mind, brains that are not fully active. It is a situation of first things first. Chapter 17. As the situation continues to develop, the picture becomes more confusing from the perspective of humanity. However, from the greater perspective, it appears as movement or change. It is through what appear to be ominous events that this change begins its motion and in reality reflects that long-awaited momentum is building. This is not to say that these ominous situations should be greeted with anticipation, but it is important that the observer mode be maintained while also experiencing these events. None of you are asked to be anything but human in your reactions other than to know the truth of what the bigger picture indicates. It is by moving through situations rather than resisting them or ignoring them that experience becomes wisdom. If experience is denied, then the opportunity to gain wisdom is lost. The knowledge of the history of humanity's birth into self-aware beings, the addition of other families of humans to the mix and the constant interference and prevention of evolvement by the controllers have contributed to the confusion and frustration of those of you who are present now. Without the understanding of who and what you are, there is little hope for change. This is the reason that this information has been deliberately destroyed, withheld, or misinterpreted. The available historical information is presented in different ways because of different interpretations of the documents and artifacts. This has happened partly through deliberate intent and sometimes because of bias and ignorance. It is thus important that more than one source be searched in order that each individual can discern those aspects of truth contained in each. Again, the conclusions may vary, but enough of the truth will be discerned by each to reach far more intelligent understandings of the total situation. What seemed incredulous in the beginning begins to make sense and then allows for acceptance of a reality that has been purposefully hidden to continue the ownership of this planet. With legitimate inhabitants with a level of self-awareness to govern themselves, colonization for the purpose of stripping a planet of its resources is unconscionable. The fact that the colonizers knowingly gave this ability to the beings that were already present on their arrival makes the situation even more objectionable on moral and ethical basis. To further complicate matters, it is the responsibility of the inhabitants to prove that they have the ability to govern themselves and to steward their planet by changing the situation through their own free will decision. They must discern how to accomplish this within the universal laws and, in this case, despite largely not knowing what these specifically are. Most know that the system that surrounds them is orderly and must be to continue, but what supports that orderliness is an unknown. Searches for this orderliness are convoluted into theories of origin that are of little or no importance in understanding how it operates. The simplicity of the universal laws escapes the understanding of scientists who thrive on complications. Simple as they are, the diversity and interactions within the application of them cause confusion when the search is for the cause behind the effects. It is so much more efficient to begin with the cause or the laws in their simplest form and then follow their effects forward into experience. The written, spoken enumeration of the laws is fully supported mathematically. It is important to begin at the beginning. The Big Bang Theory does not allow for understanding to be elicited from a holographic process, for it is again a search from manifestation back to cause. The diversity available within holographic parameters is so encompassing that to find the cause within its available infinite variety is to be compared with finding the needle in the haystack. The process of layering information adds to a greater understanding of the whole in which mankind on this planet finds itself. It builds a holographic understanding that enables those who study this material to change their ability to perceive and discern more of who and what they are and to know more about the controllers. There are many more incredible facts that are available to be known. The question is, how much is essential in order to bring forth the necessary decisions that will free this planet from the situation in which it is mired? There is a point at which further information becomes more detrimental than helpful. It is the search for this point that brings forth these messages. It is hoped that commitment and action in the application of the suggestions included will signal the end of the need for more information. At the basis of all action is the transition of consciousness and the decision to answer the call to responsibility that has been ignored and refused for so long by the composite group on this planet. End chapter 17.